Welcome to Creepin' It Real. I am Judah. Over the weekend, I took a trip to the cinema to watch a movie that I thought looked interesting. I saw The Watchers, directed by, I think, Ishana Night Shyamalan. Yes, she is related to M. Night Shyamalan. And yes, she is, in fact, his daughter. We're going to touch a little bit up on nepotism, but first, let's check out this trailer. I'm going to talk a little bit over it because I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to get hit for this music, so I'll talk over it a little bit. There were some things, like the bird. It seemed a little too convenient within the story plot that I don't want to spoil for you. And that kind of frustrated me a little bit. It just seemed too convenient. And I'm not going to lie, I put a heavy dose of criticism on it simply because of knowing the connection to M. Night Shyamalan. Which is weird because M. Night used to be one of my favorite directors.
I need some help.
And I for sure will defend him. I still like his movies. But there are a few massive stinkers. But for the most part, I still enjoy his stuff. But I did find out that these things that were bothering me that I thought were too convenient actually come from the book. So if it's anybody's fault, it's the original writer's fault.
What is happening? What is this place?
I don't mean to scare you, but we haven't much time. It's not wise to keep them waiting. They'll be very interested in someone new.
It's a window on the other side. They come every night.
And they watch us.
What is that? What are they doing?
Applause. For you, mean it.
How long have you been here?
I don't know.
And you've never seen one.
No one sees one and survives.
They have come to our world for a reason.
I'm not supposed to be here, and I'm not staying here.
They allow us to live because we follow their rules. You have broken too many.
What did you see? I'm trying to get in.
I saw myself.
Someone's out there.
Please open the door.
John? My husband's outside.
This is a trick.
Oh my God.
The older woman in that trailer, I think when I looked her up on IMDb, she's like 70. Kudos to you because she looks darn good for being 70. I hope I can look that good when I'm 70. I'm not sure it's going to happen. What is nepotism? The practice among those with power or influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs. Nepotism. Is it a bad thing? I got to tell you, 2 jobs that I had before this one, both times nepotism was heavy. My past, the one that I just left, the owner had all 3 of his boys working there. And they did their job. The kids were not slouches. They would come in on Saturdays. These guys put the time in. They put the work in. They put the effort in. He had his niece working there, who, by the way, was one of the hardest working people there, one of the best employees. So sometimes nepotism is not hideous. And this may be a surprise to some, but the job before that, I actually worked for a televangelist. I won't say who. That was all controlled by the family. Now the founder, his children ran the ministry. And, you know, they did their jobs for the most part. Obviously, they were taking advantage of their position. When I say taking advantage, I mean they were just, to the things that were provided to them, they were using them. That doesn't mean that they were taking advantage of people, though, you know, based on others' observations or interpretations, they probably would say they were. Anybody who creates a business. And if you have children, your hope is going to be to have your kids step in. You feel like you're building something up and providing for them. So what's wrong with that? The founders' children then were giving jobs to their children. And that's where I started seeing the problem, where they weren't doing the work. They were just there bossing people around and feeling like they were better than everybody. It was a bad situation. I don't think that's the way a ministry that's supposed to be about representing Christ. So for me, nepotism is horrible and should never be practiced when it comes to government and religious places like churches and so forth. That is unacceptable. When we got small businesses, you know, I don't know, like a baking goods or a silk screen, a car shop, I see no problem, especially if your kids know what they're doing and, you know, are willing to work. What's the problem? Ishana Night Shyamalan, she clearly knows what she's doing. Do I know for a fact that her dad wasn't standing right next to her telling her what to do? I have no clue. But I got to tell you, the look and the feel of this movie is superb. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. That's not saying that I'm telling you that you need to run out to the cinema, slap down $11.75 or whatever it is that you have to pay, and watch this. What I am saying is this woman has talent, and to simply point at nepotism and say she doesn't deserve it, I can't buy that. My favorite type of horror is horror comedy. Shaun of the Dead, amazing. There's an 80s movie called House, which was one of the first, what I would call true horror movies that was shared to me by my grandma when I was a child. Last year, when I shared it with my cousin Brianna, that I realized that, wait a minute, this is straight up comedy. This is comedy horror. But if we're going to get into serious horror, horror that's based off of myths or legends, folk tales, I'm really into that. Guillermo del Toro's Pan's Labyrinth is fantastic. That's definitely in my top 10. That movie is beautiful. I think when we get fairy tales now, they're kind of watered down. If you were to look at the real fairy tales, they are dark. Guillermo really, brought the darkness of the fairy tales, the fearfulness of it back in. The aesthetics of this movie are amazing. It's so atmospheric and beautiful. The lighting is amazing. They did not go wrong with the atmosphere. The landing of the movie, another story, but the atmosphere, just amazing. And the acting was just fine. It wasn't horrible. It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, but it was fine within the setting. Some might say that this movie is based off a mystery box. Abrams, speaking of J.J. Abrams, believes in a technique called a mystery box. The idea is that you just show the audience a box and they will want to know what's in it. That whole mystery box thing, I think they quite literally did that. Here's a box in the forest. People are going to want to know what's going on in there. I don't hold that against them. I thought that imagery was amazing. It made me interested. So technically, I guess J.J. Abrams was right. Even though I could see what was going on in the box, it's the idea of maybe that was a reverse mystery box. You could see what's inside of the box, but what was on the outside? So it's the reverse mystery box that they went for in this. Very similar to Lost in the fact that there's this bunker in the middle of the forest. Where did it come from? Why? Just like in Lost, they're finding all this technology, what was going on here, weird things like that. And Lost just crapped the bed. They didn't explain anything satisfactory. This movie attempts to it, and they do. They explain the bunker, but within the confines of certain other aspects of the mythos of the movie, it doesn't entirely work. The main premise is we have this girl works at this pet shop. She has to deliver this high value parrot to a purchaser or a zoo or something like that. And she's driving there and her car stalls. She's going to go try to find her way. She starts walking in the forest. Then she gets enveloped in this, supernatural portion of the forest, runs into this old lady. This old lady's in this bunker. She's like, if you want to survive, you got to get here right this second. She runs to it. They get locked in. Then everything starts unfolding. They're stuck there. There's something that's watching them. Why? Things get dangerous. There's rules they have to abide by. The main character, I think her name's Mina, something like that. She starts breaking these rules because she wants to get out, and she's thinking, well, maybe the only way to get out is to break some of these rules. They find some stuff in the bunker that explains the situation. That kind of gets resolved. Again, not entirely to my satisfaction. I mean, I know you guys are addressing it and you're saying, see, this thing that you've been thinking about has been settled, but it just wasn't settled well enough for me. So that what you've been following in the movie, just like this whole, what's this box? What's going on the outside? That kind of all gets solved and wrapped up. And then it moves on to this new portion of the story, kind of following along, in her father's footsteps. But again, this is based off of a book. So how much of that can you blame on the influence of her father versus just the writing of, Shine? I don't know. I'd have to read the book, which leads me to, man, I really wish, after seeing this movie, I really wish that I had not seen the movie, but I had known of the book, and something would have stirred me to want to read the book, because I really think this book would have been amazing and I would have really enjoyed it. The creatures are revealed, and I got to tell you, it was lackluster to me. The creatures are really just very humanoid. They're just like a taller, skinnier, more feral looking human. And that just doesn't do it for me. I don't care. I don't want to see just like a tall, gangly, feral person and be like, oh, that's a fairy. Whatever. I'm over that. There are times that the CG in this movie are just hideous. But there are times when it really stands out and I'm like, that's just bad. And there might be other times where I don't notice it, which would mean that, obviously it was passable and good. At one point, to me, the twist just was super obvious. Some occurrence has happened, and immediately I was just like, oh, this is, okay, I get it. This is what's going on here. There were some things, as far as aesthetics go, that I did think they missed the mark. If this was supposed to be dealing with ancient, like, fairies, some of the artistry that was supposed to be from that time, that's supposed to be, thousands and thousands of years ago, the art just didn't feel like it was that old. It had been sitting outside for thousands of years, and it just didn't feel like it had the weathered look. It felt like, yeah, this got put in last year, and it has a little bit of aging on it. It did not have ancient feel to it. This is just an average movie. If you're going to pay for it, it's just an average movie. I would not tell you to go, you need to run out, you need to see this. I think the last horror movie, I bought tickets for my dad and my stepmom to go see A Quiet Place. I think that was the last time that I was like, you need to go see this. Did I feel like I wasted my time? No. See, that's another good thing, though. It was beautiful, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of the forest. I'm a big fan of fairy tales, magic. Now, granted, there's no magic in this, but this was this felt like a more rooted fairy tale. This would, however, if I did not go see this, if I knew nothing about it, and one day I'm just sitting at home, I say I don't have cable, there's no streaming. Back in the day, when they just randomly playing movies Saturday afternoon, I sit down and I'm like, well, I got nothing to do. And I just start watching this movie, knowing nothing about it. I would have been blown away. And I'm like, how did I not hear about this movie? This is amazing. So it's kind of the perspective that you're going from. Going to the cinema, paying for it, randomly coming upon it when you're bored and have nothing to do, good stuff, even with its flaws. So I'm going to give it kind of an average score. It was beautiful, so I'm going to give it a little bump there. I'm going to give it a 5.5. I was going to say 6, but I've given so many 6s away recently that I just felt it would be absurd to give another one. So 5.5 or a 6. Wait for this one to come to streaming. And I don't like saying that because with as beautiful as this movie was, I would hate for this director to get discouraged. I read that Warner Brothers paid $30 million for the rights to this. And I think over the weekend, it just opened up. Over the weekend, it made like 11 million worldwide. I don't see how they're going to make their money back for this if you include the purchasing of the rights for it. I think they got a long way ahead of them. I would not say to skip this movie altogether. Definitely, when it comes out on streaming, give it a chance. Yeah, wait till streaming. Thanks for watching. This has been Creepin' It Real. I am Judah. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you have any suggestions on movies that I should watch, please send them my way. Also, you know, what are your thoughts on nepotism? Does it piss you off? Do you think it's okay? What's your thoughts on Pan's Labyrinth? What's your thoughts on fairy tales in general? If you saw this movie, what did you think about it? I'd love to have a conversation with you. You know, have very few subscribers right now. If you leave a comment, I 100% guarantee you I'm going to respond. Thanks again. See you later.